I met a gypsy.
What suspension are you running? Have you got the WP cone valve stuff on your KTM?
Yeah, this year was the first year I went out and actually dropped some money and got the WP cone valve. I got that through Racetech, and then I had Racetech set it all up for me. So I didn't go with the rear shock, just the forks, and then I ran the stock rear shock, all revalved by Racetech. And this was, dude, my favorite bike I've ever ridden for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the cone valve then. Like, how big was that difference? Because I did a race a few weeks ago, or like a couple months ago now, and I got given a set of cone valves that got set up for me. It was the roughest track I've ever rode in my entire life, and I wish that I could go back and just ride like my normal tracks and do my normal sort of riding with those forks and just to really get an idea. But I mean, I definitely noticed that it just felt like there was like more dampening. I don't know if that makes sense, but like whatever's inside a set of forks that make it feel smooth and control the dampening, it felt like there was 3 times more of whatever it was. So it's not like I was explaining it to people, like I looked at a bump coming up and then the suspension worked how my mind's eye saw it working. Like there wasn't like any, it was still like I was still hitting a bump, but there was no, oh yeah, that bump will do this. And I was like, oh shit, no, that bump did like a lot more and I wasn't ready for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like I always say that like if something's working correctly, you're not even going to notice it because that's like, it's doing its job at that point. And that's the thing about suspension is that you never like realize how good your suspension is working until you ride something worse. And
Mm.
so like and sometimes you don't even realize you're going faster because you're going way smoother and you're going faster, but it just doesn't feel like you're as out of control. So like the very first time I rode my KTM was with the cone valves on. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm going pretty good, but like I don't feel like I'm getting sketchy or anything. So like, I don't think I'm really going that fast. And then I got back on my Honda, and that was when I made the video comparing the two. And dude, I was so out of control riding that like I was like, bro, I have got to be going faster on this thing because I am out of control right now. And then obviously went back and looked at the video and like did the lap times and stuff. And I was like, no, dude, I was like 3 seconds a lap faster on the KTM, even though it felt like I was going slower. So yeah, suspension is one of those things where like you can't just go out and objectively be like, yep, this is better, or yep, I'm going faster on this. You have to actually like take some lap times and have some people like analyzing it for you. But I guarantee if you were on some stock forks on whatever that track was you were riding, you would have known it. I think the biggest thing between the stock forks and the cone valves that I noticed this year riding, because one week I had to get my cone valves redone, and so I threw my old stock forks back on, is that the air forks are way softer. So like coming into corners, when I'm hard on the front brake, it dives down a lot more and like rides in the bottom of the stroke. But whatever it is, like I've heard that air fork can like create more friction or whatever on hard hits. But when I would like launch off of a single and land flat, it felt like I had a rigid fork on my bike
Mm.
because it would just not absorb that at all, which was weird because I thought the forks were softer. So then when I rode with the cone valves, like it would absorb big hits like that way better, but it would also stay higher in the stroke, like under heavy braking. So yeah, I don't know. It's got to just be the valving and everything or whatever, but it's definitely way, way better than stock, especially if you have someone that knows how to set it up like Racetech. Like
Mm.
it's crazy how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah, that was one thing. There was this one single. There was like a big tabletop and then like rough kind of bumps coming up to this single, and you could kind of like do a bit of a bum wiggle scrub off it. And there was a couple times where like in the race where I had guys next to me, and then there was like a real rutted section, like a rutted left hand turn that you'd have to go into, and then another jump after that. And so I just didn't want to be going into that turn with people around me. So I was like sending that single as far as I could. And that was probably the one section of the track where I could really, really tell that those forks were quite a bit better because you'd sort of land on the angle into the turn, and it just really worked. And I know what you mean, like you get that feeling on the stock fork where it's like it feels really harsh through your hands, but it's like a bottoming sort of harshness. It's not like it's stiff and it's not moving. It's like it's moving too much, and then you're getting like an impact from it kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, I mean, this year opened my eyes huge on what AKIS suspension can do, and I wish I would have had it like forever. But yeah, if you've never ridden some A kit before, I highly recommend it because, like I said, I rode the A kit the very first time I rode my KTM, and then I didn't ride the stock fork until that day that I was just talking about where I had to get my forks redone. And so I threw the stock ones back on, and I was like, bro, I rode stock suspension for so long. Like, there's probably going to be hardly any difference. And dude, honestly, I did like 2 sessions, and I was like, I might as well load up and go home because it's so bad. But yeah, and I loved air forks too. Like back when the Hondas had the air forks in like 13 and 14 or whatever, those were like some of my favorite handling bikes. I like the air fork, so I don't know exactly if it's the fact that the KTM air fork is that much different or whatever. But yeah, do yourself a favor and get some good suspension.
Yeah, dude. I think that was one of the questions that I got asked a lot was people like, "Whoa, would you buy them?" And I was like, well, "Yeah, like there's no if I could afford to go and do that right now and I didn't have a business to run, like I would 100% do that." But it's just like that it just ain't on my priority list. But if money wasn't a problem, there's no way I would not run those cone valves.
Yeah, a lot of people think like I'm not a pro, so it's not going to benefit me. Like that's just not true at all. Like better equipment is going to make anyone go faster, no matter what level they're at. You know, it's like people always talk about this in like cycling and stuff too. Like, why do I need more aerodynamic helmets or whatever? I'm not Peter Sagan, but it's like wearing a more aerodynamic helmet is going to make you faster, even if you're going slow. You know, like it's worth it for you to do that if you want to be as good as you can be. So it's justifiable, like no matter what skill you are. I always thought that too when I was an amateur. I was like I'm slow, dude. I don't need that, but it will make you go faster. I promise.
Well, not for me. It's not even about being faster. To me, it's about being safer. Like like exactly what you just described about you got back on the Honda and you were like, dude, I'm sending it. Like this is sketchy. I'm like sketchy fast right now, but it's like you weren't sketchy fast. You were just sketchy.
Yeah, yeah, true. I mean, I didn't even think about it like that, but I remember, I think it was Weston Pike one day rode one of the stock Suzuki's or something for like an intro video they were doing. And I remember him saying that like he actually was scared because the suspension was so soft that like he was just bottoming out everywhere and it was like dangerous to ride stock suspension for him.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I believe that. Like, yeah, for me, the thing that if I was like, I do want to try and get some cone valves. Like, I'm close to WP, so I feel like I could get them not at the full price, hopefully. But I mean, even then, it's still like super expensive. But to me, it's just like it's like just a safety thing. Like, I could be safer, more comfortable, have more like wiggle room for error. Maybe the laps come a bit easier, which means I'm not getting tired as quick, which means the risk of crashing is probably going to be less if you're, it's just like risk management in my eyes more than anything. And it's like if you are a guy that loves to ride and you're going to ride regardless, like whether you've got a good bike or not, if you don't have a good bike and you're going to ride, like your risk factor is just higher. Like that just is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can talk all day about the price of like a cone valve fork, but if it's going to be the difference between you crashing and not, like I promise an ACL replacement is going to be more expensive than the A kit fork. So like, yeah, like you said, a little injury management right there, like is definitely worth it in my eyes.
So go to Race Tech is what we're saying. Brought to you by
go to Race Tech.
Jeff.